the story that's been hanging over everybody's heads. Corey Seager finally talks about it, and we will talk about that coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, I see you, Kelly, man. Toxic, not our word. That's just something that was reported nationally. I think that the local guys did a pretty good job of kind of getting a feel for what was going on. Something was amiss, it sure seemed like. Anyway, Jeff Wilson here with the DLS Rangers podcast. I'm in Surprise, Arizona. I'm in Suite 4 today at Surprise Stadium. There's still a little bit of a baseball tournament going on. Oregon State and Michigan are playing right now, so you may hear some applause in the background. Not for me, though it should be. It's for the Beavers, the Beavers who travel so well. It's unbelievable how many fans they bring here each year. Anywho, here we go. We're gonna dive into the chemistry stuff in the second segment. There's so much stuff for us to talk about going on in camp other than this Marcus Semien, Corey Seager thing that I swear to God, we hope we've put it to bed here. We will see what happens. But anywho, let's do a little camp rundown, a little camp roundup. It's been 3 full days of camp since our last show. Saturday, the last day before the position players showed up. Sunday, the first full squad workout, and then today, which was marked by 11 sessions of live batting practice. We'll get to some of that later on, but I guess the big news baseball wise came Sunday from Skip Schumaker when he said that Brandon Nimmo was going to be the leadoff hitter. We'll get into this a little bit later in segment 3, but if anybody was wondering, I know it had been speculated on quite a bit since he was acquired. Where would he land? He has landed apparently in the leadoff spot. As Skip likes to say it's in pencil, not in pen, but kind of look around at all the other candidates. And, well, yeah, all signs point to Nimmo. Skip also said that Nimmo is going to probably be the right fielder, meaning that somehow, some way, they're going to divvy up left field and center field between Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford. It's going to come down to wear and tear. And there's no question that if you play 162 games in center field and 162 games in left field, you're going to feel it more in center field. It's a concern with Evan, though, God bless him. He says he feels great. He just wants to be on the field. He doesn't care if he's in center field. He doesn't care if he's on left field. I'm assuming that there'll be a fair share of both for him. Wyatt for sure will be in center field, I think, against left-handers. Not all left-handers, as we've talked about, but a lot of left-handers. But they're both here. They're both swinging it. And they're both upright. Wyatt, who talked to us yesterday, said that he spent a lot of the off season, hunting. Sounds like he kills a lot of things in his off seasons, but also figuring out a way to stay healthy. He had the oblique injuries last year. I believe there were 4 of them, if you include the one in spring training. So he was doing some things, rotational work and stuff like that. He thinks his arm plays better in left field than it does in center, but he said that between the two of them, Evan and Wyatt, they're fast enough and have no trouble covering the ground there in center field, whether it be at Globe Life Field or anywhere else in baseball. There's new competition for a bench spot. Mark Hanna has been signed to a minor league deal with an invite. He's in big league camp. Veteran, hit the 10-year mark last year. We all remember him from all of his days with the Angels. I'm not the Angels, the A's. Oh, I said Angels with the A's. Some pretty good A's teams. Kind of that fiery that they seem to turn out every once in a while of young guys. He was a Rule 5 pick in 2014, the year that the Rangers took Delino to Shields. Made his debut in 15 and hasn't looked back. He's got a shot to make the team. I mean, he's a right-handed hitter, and he's done that pretty well at times in his career, hitting left-handers. He has to play outfield, which is not a surprise, a corner outfielder. So that's another one to watch. We know that the Rangers wanted to sign a right-handed hitting outfielder, and Austin Hayes went off the board, and Miguel Andujar went off the board, and darn it, who then was left? Well, they settled on Mark Hanna, and it's pretty funny, I guess, that the Rangers called him Saturday, and he said he was out playing in the backyard with his kids. His agent was on the other line, said the Rangers called, and Mark said, "Let's go." Drove over from Phoenix, where he lives, and was in camp the next day. Yesterday was his birthday, so I guess that's an interesting way to spend your birthday. But seems like a nice guy. See what he has left. He dealt with a tennis elbow last year, he said, and with the Royals, and they eventually designated him for assignment, and he didn't pick up anywhere. So he had some time to think about it. Does he want to play baseball? I mean, when you hit 10 years, man, you have set yourself up for the full pension once you're able to draft from it. Not that he hasn't set himself up along the way here in his career, but good things happen when you hit 10 years. But he said he still has the desire to play. We'll see if he makes a roster spot. Could be tough. It really could be. It's interesting to kind of think about how the bench is going to be configured, and we're going to actually do that a little later too. Zach Kent, former Rangers draft pick, ninth rounder from BMI. He was designated for assignment to make room for Jordan Montgomery, and I'll be darned if he didn't make it. The Cardinals claimed him. It was the Cardinals who had lost him. The Rangers had claimed him from the Cardinals in the offseason. Really like Zach. I'm sorry to see him go and that we weren't able to catch up, but I'm glad he's landed on his feet, has a 40-man spot somewhere, and figures to help the Cardinals as they kind of swim through a bit of a rebuild. So some other live stuff that happened today, live batting practice, 11 guys through, mostly relievers, a lot of guys who probably don't have a chance to make the club. Uh, the starter of note who did was Cal Quantrill. He's off to play for Team Canada here week after next. Probably be a one and done, but I think he's got a shot at the rotation. Definitely a shot at a roster spot. The Rangers ran out of pitching depth last year. They don't want to do that. If there's an opportunity for him to stay on the club as a long reliever, let's say, that's one way to do it. Don't know that he'd accept an assignment to the minors. He could probably, in fact, ask for his free agency. So the Rangers wouldn't stand in front of him as long as he had a big league job. Rocker and Evaldi threw live on Sunday, and that's pretty newsworthy. Evaldi, of course, looked like Evaldi. Very, very good. No concerns there. A lot of talk today from Skip Schumaker about how Rocker looked. Skip was very impressed. Changeup looked good, something that Kamar has been working on, something he can throw to left-handers. The slider was good. Slider. Rocker calls it a curveball. Was good to both sides. Two-seamer looked good through four-seamer. So, and there's still that cutter somewhere in there that Kamar snuck in last year. So 5 pitches through a lot of strikes, looked good on the mound, which is a good sign for him, obviously, as he competes to be the fifth starter. The mechanics that he worked on, the changes, everything seems to be in place. I couldn't notice any changes. Not that I'm, studying video of these guys. Nothing drastically different from last year, as far as I could tell. So he's, I don't know if he's the first guy in the race. He's definitely the first guy in competition to throw live BP. Uh, Quantrill went today. Jake Latz said he's going to go on Wednesday with his live BPs. So that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to see all the high praise that Rocker was getting. I did ask Schumacher today if stuff can overcome inexperience. He said sometimes, and then he talked about how Kamar got a lot of experience last year, dealt with a lot of lows. So it sounds like they are convinced that Kamar could, be in this rotation. A couple other things to talk about. Kind of when we go about the infield, we know who's going to be there. In large part, Jake Berger. is going to be at first. Jock Peterson has been taking ground balls and working there. That's kind of dicey. Over at second base, Josh Smith and Cody Freeman have been working with the regular guys. Corey Seager, of course, at shortstop. Josh Young at third, and it was Skip was asked today if there's competition at third base, and Skip said no, but he's hoping that Cody Freeman and Ezekiel Duran, who will be playing some third base this spring, help bring out the best in Josh. And it makes sense, competition, iron sharpens iron, all of that. Cody Freeman's best position is third base. He was the Rangers Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago as a third baseman. So he's going to play second and third this spring. Cody is no shortstop. So that kind of makes me wonder, do they have a spot for somebody to be a backup second baseman, backup third baseman, and just in case player in the outfield? Duran is going to be at shortstop. That's where some of his focus is going to be, which then makes you wonder, okay, is Josh Smith not going to be the backup shortstop? So, if Josh Smith does win the second base job, is he going to be strictly at second base, not moving around, let him work on second? That will play out. Both Freeman and Zeke will play outfield later in camp, according to Skip Schumaker. So, there's all kinds of stuff going on. You saw some bullpens yesterday. I hope you guys are seeing my video. Um, because on my Twitter account, because I've been sending out a lot of live BPs and BP videos. They're kind of boring, but uh, they're kind of interesting too. You got to look at Carter Baumler, who I talked to yesterday. Haven't written anything yet, but I will. Good kid, pretty interesting the way he went about this. He's been aware of the Rule 5 draft for a while now. Um, his little brother, Trevor, is a pitcher at TCU. Carter was a TCU signee, so he's still close with the coaching staff. No hard feelings when he, got basically bought out of his commitment in 2020. The Orioles, he was their fifth round pick, and they gave him $1.5 million. So pretty hard to turn down that kind of money. I'm sure TCU understood how that goes. Some other stories that are going to be coming up. The catching situation. It looks like it's going to be an even split between those two, Kyle Higashioka and Danny Jansen. Skip Schumaker not wanting to commit to anything, but it sure seems like they'll both be hopefully in the 81 range. As you know, with catchers, they're always needed. And I tell you what, they got a backup named Willie MacGyver, who's a riot. Story coming up on that guy. Um, he keeps things loose, to say the least, during these bullpen sessions and live BPs. So, there's some fun stuff, that are ideas, story ideas, just getting to know guys that are popping up, trying to meet as many of the minor leaguers who are in camp, big league camp. Josh Trenadue and Dalton Pence, a pair of left-handers. Trenadue made it to Frisco and did real well. Pence got up to Spartanburg last year and could start there again in Hub City, or maybe he goes ahead and goes to Frisco. College kid, he's selected out of North Carolina, and just people just like him. He's not going to overpower you with his stuff, but he's gonna he's gonna show some guts. And then Robbie Alstrom, I know we all like talking about Robbie Alstrom, or at least I do. I know Mason does too. Threw a bullpen yesterday and on a knee behind the catcher for pretty much the whole thing with Skip Schumaker. Skip was really impressed. Depending on how the rotation shakes out, whether it be especially if it's lats to the rotation, there's a real chance that Robbie Alstrom could open the season in the majors. He's definitely going to pitch in the majors. I know they said that last spring, but he will, I believe, be in the majors this year, and he's pretty good. He's a pretty good guy to have around. Good dude on the attack. He's added a split, or at least is throwing it more rather than just the fastball and the slider, trying to keep guys honest, another way to get right-handed batters out. So looking forward to seeing how that evolves. Bullpens and live BPs are one thing. Games are an entirely different number. Janet, what number does Alstrom wear right now? He's wearing 81. He and Ryan Lobus and Eric Loomis are in the same group, and they're 81, 86, and 87. So I've taken to calling them the wide receiver group. And hopefully at some point they're down in the, let's start with the 50s or maybe the 60s, and then work their way down. But that's what young guys do. They wear those big numbers. That's how um, their kind of status in the organization. But of that trio, and really of all the non-roster internal invites, I think Alstrom has the best chance to make this roster. I think he has a chance out of all the non-roster guys to do it. He might have a chance out of all the guys to make the bullpen. We're going to have to wait and see how it turns out, and we'll get to that later in camp as things play out. For now, though, we're going to take a little ad break, and when we get back, we will talk about one of my least favorite subjects, chemistry. All right, this episode is brought to you by Wild Fork Meat and Seafood Market, our friends, the butcher shop, I guess officially of DLLS Sports. All kinds of meats, seafoods, side dishes. They have it all at Wild Fork Foods, 9 DFW locations, or you can go online to wildforkfoods.com. Become a member for $29 a month, and you can get free delivery to your house either the same day or the next day. It's probably one of the best deals going. Speaking of good deals, Wild Fork prides itself on keeping prices low, and they do that because every Monday they meet, they look at prices around the Metroplex, and they either match or beat those prices. So go to wildforkfoods.com, stop by one of the 9 DFW locations. You absolutely, positively will not regret your visit to Wild Fork. And then also, we have our friends at Mars Men. Men go to Mars.com, 50% off for life, free shipping, 3 free gifts. What is Mars Men? It's for guys that have low T or not necessarily have low T, just are searching for some focus and some energy. There's a protein in our bodies, blocks testosterone. Mars Men helps take off unlocks the door, takes off the handcuffs, breaks the chain, however you want to say it, and helps your testosterone get where it's supposed to go, do the things it's supposed to do, and helps you lead the life you want to live. If you do have low T, hey, give this a shot too. It can never hurt. That's mengotomars.com, 50% off. That's half for those of you at home who aren't math majors. For life, free shipping, 3 free gifts. mengotomars.com. All right, guys, TO, will I lay on the ground for video like Kennedy? No, I will not. Um, I'm not that ambitious. I'm not that creative. And mostly, I don't want to get down that low. I'm getting older, and getting back up isn't like it used to be. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about, I guess, what's been the elephant in the room, various rooms this offseason. It's the rumored dust up or rift or, you know, inability to get along between Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. A little background before we play the audio. At the end of last season, I said I reported on something, and then Marcus said something about wanting to play with guys who want to win. The last road trip, neither one of them was there. Corey was awaiting the birth of his son a few days later, was born the first week after the season. Marcus was injured and wasn't going to play. Still thought his absence was a little conspicuous because Nathan Eovaldi was there and he wasn't going to play. Anyway, and then Marcus was traded, right? And some publications started talking about, nationally, several reporters, including John Heyman and Joel Sherman, who coincidentally do a podcast together. Sherman, I guess, was the latest one to do it on a national level to talk about their relationship. And I think somewhere along the line, Joel used the word toxic. So anyway, here we go. Corey Seager was asked today about Marcus Semien.
Describe your relationship with Marcus.
I think that's things that are in-house that people don't know about, right? That's just all speculation. Me and Marcos had a fine relationship. We were we both respect each other. We were both professional, and we knew how to go about our business and try and accomplish a goal, and we did that in 23. So, like I said, you can't take that away from us.
As we peel back the onion a little bit on that interview, it started out talking about his son, how he's feeling, did the appendicitis delay him, any things like that. Then I asked, kind of leading into it, you have a new second base partner. How do you feel about that? He and Josh Smith, their families have become friendly, and so he's excited for Josh's opportunity. And then I flat asked, what did you think about Marcus being traded? And then Evan, following my lead, went ahead and got in there before I could. Not that we're competing about the question, the big question, the one everybody wanted to know. That answer was probably what you'd expect. I think that from a website click and video click standpoint, I think we were all hoping that Corey would MF Marcus and say he's the worst person ever and all that stuff. But that's just not the way they are. They're both are professionals. And Corey's answer I thought was good enough. There's no rule. There's no, they don't sign contracts that say they have to be best friends with all their teammates. I think that they had a working relationship. I think that they did very, very well together on the field when Corey was on the field. And I think if there's any conflict here, it came down to Marcus became more of the face of the team, the guy that the media went to. A lot of that is because Corey was hurt and wasn't around and wasn't contributing to the team. Um, and they do things differently. Corey does not go on the field before games. He just does his work in the cages. He has his own hitting coach who he works closely with, and then they in turn work together with the Rangers hitting coaches. Marcus is out on the field every day, taking grounders, taking BP. So I think there were a clash of styles for sure. I'm not sure to what extent it got toxic. Again, Joel Sherman's word. The media's only in there in the clubhouse every day for 45 or 50 minutes. Players are there before games, sometimes 6 hours before games, definitely 5 hours before games. We don't see what happens in the kitchen. We don't see, what happens after a game, right before a game, any of that stuff. Do I think it was overblown? I think people always overblow stuff, overtake this, always take this stuff to the next level. I'd like to be able to speak English someday, by the way. Goodness gracious. Um, but I think there was something there, and we've all heard stuff. All of us reporters have heard things, and it just depends on what you believe. And then also, there's one guy who's still here and one guy who isn't. So you can read into it what you want, but the hope here, and I am really hoping this 100% sincerely, is that this is the last time I ever talk about it. I don't like talking about this. I would rather talk about how the lineup's going to be constructed, who's going to make the rotation, who's going to fill out the bench. How does Wyatt Langford get better this year? How does Corey Seager stay on the field this year? Those are things I'd rather talk about. I do believe in chemistry. I think chemistry is a big, big thing, but I also think it's a private thing. If we were if we were allowed into the clubhouse for 4 hours a day, it would be different, but we're not. We're not allowed to sit down in the clubhouse. They're just clubhouse rules. And talking about this stuff, we all do it when we have to, but I don't think any of us likes it. So hopefully this is it. Marcus will probably be given an opportunity by the New York media to respond. I would suspect that Marcus will respond in a very similar manner as Corey. We can all move on. But chemistry is a big deal for Skip Schumaker. He's the manager, the new guy. He was introduced on October 5th? I think maybe it was the 4th when Corey was, in the delivery room with his wife. Look, Skip Schumaker said one of the things he wanted to do, one of the three things it seemed like, as my mind goes back in time, was create what he called a winning chemistry or winning culture. And yesterday, before everybody took the field at the big pre-camp, pre-first workout conversation, Skip Schumaker talked about chemistry. Skip Schumaker believes that's how teams win on the margins. The teams that have the best chemistry win games. How do you do that? He said you have to have more competitors than complainers, more inflators than deflators. And he said you're always going to have guys who complain, guys who bring things down, coolers. But you need to have fewer of them, only a couple of them. You can survive with a couple of them. But the point is, and Skip said, yeah, winning helps. Everybody likes to win. That helps with the chemistry. But the thing that helps winning, and the number one thing that he wants from his players this year, is to come to the ballpark happy, to have a good time. He wants, the Texas Rangers clubhouse to be rated as the top workplace in the Metroplex, where people have fun, where they enjoy their going about their business, where they like each other. And that's, spring training is a huge part of that. There are probably more than a dozen guys right now out playing golf somewhere in the Metroplex together. And there are some guys who don't play golf. They're here with their families. They like to spend time with them. But dinners, anything you can do to get together and get to know each other, which leads to Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo is probably going to be this team's leader. He just has an infectious personality, such a nice guy. He fits into this. We're going to talk about more about him in the next segment. So he fits into this. Who else could be a leader? Skip Schumaker wants to see what Wyatt Langford can do in the leadership front. He wants him to take a step forward. I asked Skip after he said that, hey, can a 24-year-old be a team leader? And Skip said, look, this is his third year. He's a veteran now. He's not a rookie anymore. And I think we started to see it come out last year. There were times I always point to the game against Cleveland when they won in the ninth inning in August, and Wyatt led off. He legged out a double and got to second base and pumped his fists and was getting the bench fired up. He cares about his teammates on and off the field, and I really think that he has a chance. Now he's good too, and that helps. He's going to be on the field a lot theoretically, assuming he stays healthier than he did last year. All these things that can help him become what he needs to be and what Skip Schumaker wants him to be and what he can be. I think eventually this is Wyatt Langford's team. I think this is the guy who becomes the face of the franchise. It's not that Corey, it's not that Corey can't do that. And he was asked if he needs to be more forward facing. And he said, I don't know if that's what people want from me. I can do it if necessary. I think there's a lot of willingness from Corey, at least from what he said when he wasn't talking about Marcus, to be the guy. He said that he's always wanted to be a guy, a veteran who people can come to, who's an open book. And he feels like he's done that. To that end, he said yesterday he talked to Sebastian Walcott about Tommy John surgery. Corey had it in 18. His was a little different because he also ended up having hip surgery 4 months later. So his rehab was a little bit different track than what the Rangers are hoping Sebastian's will be. But Sebastian left camp last night in Texas today. Not sure when he's having the surgery. We'd assume very soon, though, right? So, just little things like that go a long, long way when it comes to helping build chemistry. Other leaders, Josh Young seems to want to do it. There's the last year where he gave everybody gifts on opening day that he felt was kind of a step in that direction. He's one of the first guys out of the dugout after a home run or whatever. I'm not sure a pitcher can do it, but Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom seem to be the leaders of the pitching staff and things like that. So yeah, Skip Schumaker believes it. A lot of managers believe it. Obviously, there was something amiss last year. Not sure if it was all related to this Corey and Marcus kerfuffle, but losing and slumping, it's hard to lead when you can't hit more than 200, as Jock Peterson has come around to saying a few times. So there you go. That's your chemistry class for today. When I was in high school, I took remedial chemistry and got an A. Pretty excited about it, but that ought to tell you how I feel about chemistry. Anywho, coming up next, we are going to talk about Brandon Nimmo. We're going to talk about the lineup. We got a long way to go to figure this one out, but it was a topic of the day today with manager Skip Schumaker, and we're going to do that right after this. All right. All right, guys, I had to set my timer, so I know when 2 minutes is up, I got to scratch my nose while the graphic is up. Holy cow, have I got some allergies going? Anyway, join the supporters club. Maybe I'll do a video of me, dealing with allergies and scratching my nose. Um, but I think what we're going to end up doing here, I saw Rarities. You said, can I do like a tour of the complex? And that's a pretty good idea. I may steal it. It's when you think about this complex in Surprise. It was created. Buck Showalter is the one who kind of mapped out the plan with the half field and the big field right next to the clubhouse, and then the six packs where guys can throw. There's two of those, and the four fields where the minor leaguers do most of their work, all connected. The stretching field, all of that stuff, but also bring you into the media room where we do our work. And anyway, behind the scenes stuff, die-hard level stuff for our YouTube channel, and you can see all those by going to becoming a member of the Supporters Club. Also, show your support for your favorite team and for DLS with some merch, some DLS merch. There you saw our latest creation, the Cooper flag shirt. Pledge allegiance to the flag, 2 Gs. Do you understand? I get it. Man, that guy's good. What a ball player. If you haven't taken advantage of that shirt, that opportunity to get it, go ahead and do that. Have it ready when the Mavs get back from the All-Star break. Uh, I didn't watch the All-Star game last night, so I have no idea what happened, and I don't know if I really care to do it. Um, but I do have one Mavs shirt. I have a Mavs hat. We have 5 hats available, more than 50 shirts. We have flags. We have beer pint glasses. We have coffee cups. We dip into colleges a little bit on all of our stuff. So really, the best thing for you to do is go to store.allcitynetwork.com. Go ahead and get you some merch, please. All right, here we go. We're moving on. Glad to do so after talking about that subject I don't like to talk about. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to some baseball stuff. The lineup, and how Brandon Nimmo fits into it. First of all, Brandon Nimmo, what a stud, right? So nice. The nicest guy. I walked up to him today. He was ready to talk to us. He said, "What can I do for you guys?" I was like, "Are you kidding? Nobody does that." Anyway, we informed him what Skip Schumaker said yesterday, that he's going to be the leadoff hitter, and he kind of laughed and said, "Well, I can do that." And sure, he can. You kind of look at his numbers in his career: 364 career on base percentage, 372 as a leadoff hitter. His on base percentages, though, has been not great the last 2 years, 327 and 324, but he hasn't been the leadoff guy. So I asked him, is there a correlation? He said there absolutely is a correlation. Early in his career, he was told that his job was to get on base. And so that's what he did really, really well. He has 3 seasons above 400 OBP. That's good. I overheard him today talking to Evan Carter, and he said, our job is to score it is to score as many runs possible in as few at bats as possible. That's pretty sharp, right? That means be selective at the plate, do the right things, uh, walks, hit by pitch, sacrifice flies. I don't know about sacrifice bunts, but Brandon also said that the last few years he's been asked to do things differently, asked to do different things, i.e., drive in runs. He was deeper in the order for the Mets, and he can do that too. He has 30 homer power. He showed that off today in batting practice. Guys were Jock Peterson was floored at how far Brandon Nimmo was hitting balls. Now they do carry a little bit more here in Arizona, but they would have been home runs anywhere, even Globe Life Field. So look for Brandon to do a little bit of both. Look for the on base percentage to go up this season, but look for him to still look for opportunities to drive the ball out of the ballpark. Theoretically, a leadoff hitter is only guaranteed of one at bat, leadoff at bat to an inning at the start of the game. It may not happen again the rest of the game. I think it happens once or twice on average, somewhere like 1.5 times. Um, but he's ready. He wants to do it. He can steal bases. He can hit the ball in the ballpark. He's a tough at bat, grinds out at bats, sees a lot of pitches, things that, quite frankly, the Rangers haven't done a lot of lately. Especially when you have like a Corey Seager in there who swings at the first pitch. He took his first dose of live batting practice of the day. Yes, he swung at the first pitch. It was a slider, and he swung and missed it from Cal Quantrill. So anyway, so hopefully people take Nimmo's lead. I think Wyatt Langford has a chance to really learn a lot from Brandon Nimmo. Wyatt did say that maybe he wasn't as aware of what pitchers were going to do to him the last couple seasons. He wants to take a step forward there. I'm sure Brandon Nimmo can help him with that. Um, but Nimmo just wants to lead. He's going to play right field, which Skip Schumaker also said. Brandon's going to start taking reps out there, get familiar with it. He says, everything's opposite, obviously, right field to left field, but a challenge, a position he's played before, and I don't even know if it's challenge. I say challenge. I don't know necessarily that it is a challenge for him to get adjusted to that. He's just got to do the opposite. So that means that left field and center field we talked about. Still not sure how it's going to be made up. Okay, so Brandon Nimmo's going to bat first. Who's going to bat second? Who's going to bat third? Well, Skip Schumaker isn't ready to commit to that, but he did say he wants Corey Seager and Wyatt Langford to hit in the first inning. Okay, so we have our first three batters, right? In some order, behind Nimmo, it'll be Seager and Langford. Now, how will that be How will that be decided? Will Skip Schumaker be comfortable going lefty lefty 1-2? How do the spots at the bottom of the order look? If you have Evan Carter batting ninth, you're going lefty lefty lefty. Same thing with Josh Smith batting ninth, lefty lefty lefty. You bat Carter or Smith seventh, and then one of the catchers eighth, and then either Smith or Carter ninth. A lot of ways to go about it, I guess. Well, not a lot, but a few, and it's something to consider. If a team has a predominantly right-handed bullpen, I don't think you mind stacking the three lefties like that. If they have a lot of lefties out there, or if it's the Astros with Josh Hader, if he's healthy, or you have a left-handed closer, maybe you don't want to stack them up like that. It'll be interesting to see, and then what do you do after the first three? Who's your leadoff guy? If you bat Seager third, is Jock Peterson your cleanup guy? Do you want a lefty there? Obvious platoon situation, but who is he going to platoon with? Who's going to come off the bench and be a threat to protect Corey Seager? So maybe you bat Berger or Young fourth. Some things to think about. And then who's going to be the DH? That was something else that came up right now, or the DH when Peterson isn't playing. Right now, it looks like it will be the second catcher. Whoever isn't catching that day, be it Kyle Higashioka or Danny Jansen, it looks like they have a chance to beat the DH. What if Mark Hanna makes the team? Okay, he could DH. Would you give DH at bats to, let's say, Ezekiel Duran or Cody Freeman to help them stay sharp if they're not already in the lineup that day? So there are a lot of things still to juggle, but you're starting to kind of see how Skip Schumaker's thinking. We know who the first three are going to be, and I guess you could say that Nimmo, Seager, and Langford are the Rangers' three best hitters. So something to keep an eye on, but we're not going to know. Maybe we'll start to get hints late in camp if the Rangers are able to play, if the schedule, however they have cut up playing time here, if it is Seager, Langford, and Nimmo playing together on days, or do they split those guys up so that when they go on the road, they have the requisite, 4 big league guys to give to the home crowd. Something to watch, something to keep your eyes on, but also something to look forward to, something we'll get to write for weeks on end if we want. But it is early to set the lineup, Kelly, man. You are correct. But guess what? It's never too early for the media to set lineups. That's just something that gets us by. Just like we want to know the rotation. We want to know who's going to be in the bullpen. which again was talked about today. There are a bunch of guys. After let's say Martin, Garcia, Junis, and Alexander, who were the guys who were signed to major league contracts in the offseason. That's four spots. Who knows what might creep up injury wise this spring? Always a possibility. Everybody knows it. It's not unusual for it to happen. You might need a guy like Robbie Hallstrom to be in the bullpen. And again, Rocker, Quantrill, Latz, who survives that? uh, Guys who you don't want to lose who are NRIs. Do you have to put them on the roster to preserve your depth? I really think Cole Winn will be in the bullpen for sure. All right, but you know, so let's say that's five spots. You still got three to determine. Is it somebody on the 40 like Curvelo? I think Brazier has a chance, a non-roster guy. And again, what happens with Latz and Quantrill if they're not in the rotation? Do they both land in the bullpen? Have to wait and see. I would imagine Quantrill would have opportunities to go elsewhere. I would think that Latz would absolutely go to the bullpen. Maybe be one of those unique leverage late inning guys who can give you multiple innings effectively. That kind of would help him stay stretched out in case there's an injury in the bullpen and you need a guy. That could be Latz. Um, it's gonna be fun. There's some stuff this spring that it doesn't necessarily seem like there's been the last couple springs. Honestly, the Rangers have had their guys pretty much set going into the last few camps. There was questions about Evan Carter's health last year, of course, and how that was all going to play out. And I think when Kevin Pillar was signed, that kind of answered that question. But you had regulars across the board, and we can go back to the Nathaniel Lowe days, all the way back to 2024. Yeah, I think that it's kind of nice to have some things to talk about and some competition in camp. Like everybody says, iron sharpens iron. First time I heard that was Jeff Bannister, so I don't like to use it a lot, but it does keep coming up, and we'll see what happens. But again, you see all these young arms. The Rangers, their farm system takes a hit. Although Fangraphs, how about Fangraphs today? Had five Rangers in the top 103, I guess, four technically in the top 100, um, including some guys you didn't really think about. Walcott was way down at 30, maybe the injury factored in there, but Caden Scarborough, Yolfran Castillo, they're bullish on Yolfran Castillo. I'd like to see him develop some power, of course. But anyway, there's some young bullpen arms down there that, if they don't make it this year, won't be far behind. Guys I mentioned before, like Dalton Pence, Eric Loomis, and Gavin Collier, who they love the fastball and they'd like to see the control be a little bit better. You can use Cornell and Santos, who was in there at 103. Use them as relievers, help them break into the majors that way. A lot of ways to do it, but there are some arms that are intriguing that should help with the bullpen. And then let's not forget about Josh Forrest, and let's not forget about Mark Church. When Church is ready to go, or Emiliano Teodo, though I think he needs time in the minors this year. But Church, he's got a chance too. And you say, well, gosh, do the Rangers have a closer? Well, if it's not Alexi Diaz, if it's not Robert Garcia, could Mark Church eventually be a big league closer? And I think yes, the answer is yes. Mike Maddox absolutely positively thought that Mark Church has closer stuff, and he even last spring, I heard Mike Maddox say, "Don't be surprised if he stays healthy, eventually works his way into the ninth." Well, he didn't. Cole Winn could pitch the ninth, but all these things will be determined. We haven't even gotten to the first game yet. We're only 2 days into full squad workouts, but these are the things on our minds. Every day we pepper poor Skip Schumaker with questions that he can't answer. But by God, we want those answers. All right, we are down to our last segment, batting cleanup. Busy as usual. Holy smokes, has a lot happened in the game. The offseason just doesn't end anymore. It just keeps going and going and going, and we'll talk about that next, right after this. Looking at the scoreboard, looks like Oregon State just went ahead. That's information you're not going to get in the other DFW markets. We're talking live here, baby. Become a diehard, please. I have written one story so far today about my least favorite subject. Um, More are coming. I've written every day since I've been here. Some of it's been news, some of it's been uh, kind of a, the scene setter, the broader overview. But you're not going to miss out on Rangers news if you're a diehard. You're also not going to miss out on Cowboys news. Hello, Clarence Hill, my buddy for almost 30 years. Sam Nestler over on the Stars. His break eventually is going to come to an end, right? Still a lot to talk about. And then Ron over there on the Mavs, their All-Star break is getting ready to wind down. How is Cooper Flag's foot? How are the Mavs going to play out the string here? Are they going to be one of the tankers? I don't think they should be. I think they should give Cooper Flag the ball every time down the floor and let him do his thing. I do like Najee Marshall, but let's go ahead and get Cooper Flag acclimated and ready to be a superstar. He probably already is a superstar. The guy's really good. Kyrie Irving, isn't he going to come back? Well, Ron probably has all the news on that. Um, what about you guys? What are you guys interested in? What do you want to see behind the paywall? I've got Wyatt Langford teed up. I've got Alexis Diaz teed up. A lot of other stories percolating in my brain right now. It's a fun time. I love spring training. It's my favorite time to write stories, to get to know the players, and it gives me a chance to maybe do a little more feature work than we're used to. And you get to see it at store.allcitynetwork.com. If you're a diehard, or not store.allcitynetwork.com, at alldls.com/join or/intro, might still be able to get those cheap prices. And then over at store.allcity.com, a diehard membership gets you 20%. 20% off of our merch, 20% off our events. And if you haven't done it already, do it now, become a diehard. All right, I saw some Robert Duvall uh, talk over there. Um, you know, Gosh, I guess I first remember him in The Godfather. I wasn't alive when it was released, but a classic movie. I mean, he's been in so many. Even Days of Thunder, he was as Harry. He was a pretty fun guy. And then, of course, Lonesome Dove as Gus. My favorite book. They did a great job in the miniseries. One of the biggest shocks that I've had in book reading, watching movies, whatever, was when Gus got shot and ended up eventually dying because of the poison arrow. But he was stubborn. He didn't want to have that leg amputated, so I guess he died his own way. But man, good run for Robert Duvall. 95. Good night. Good for him. I'm gonna miss him. Um Robert Duvall. Okay, that was not how I planned on cleaning up to start, but can't ignore it. All right, here we go to the cleanup segment. Zach Gallen is no longer on the board. He signed a one-year deal with the Diamondbacks, re-signing with them for 22.05 million with deferrals. But why is the 22.05 million significant? That was the price of a qualifying offer, which Gallen had declined as he entered free agency for the first time. So why did he get a bigger deal? Well, the qualifying offer definitely had something to do with it. I don't know that, if you dive into the numbers, this is some things I've heard or seen. He didn't have huge numbers, right? If you compare him to Dylan Cease has power, right? And teams are going to bank on power, whereas Gallen didn't necessarily have numbers that lit up, the pitch tracks and all that stuff. He's a little bit more refined as a pitcher, but teams are going to gamble on the stuff. So that's why Cease got the huge deal he got, 7 years, 210, while Gallen wanted 22.05. Now he'll be a free agent again next year when he won't have the qualifying offer attached. And this is all assuming there's, actually a baseball season and free agency, and that and that qualifying offers are part of the new collective bargaining agreement. He could get 4 and 20, 4 and 20 apiece, 4 and 80, something like that. He's also a little bit older, but bounce back year, who knows? All right, the Padres have gone crazy spending wise. Maybe not crazy because they haven't been spending it much, but they did get Nick Castellanos, who had been cast aside by the Phillies. German Marquez, the former Rockies pitcher, Griffin Canning, former Angels pitcher who was with the Mets last year, and then Ty France. So guys you've heard of, veteran guys, all signed over the weekend by AJ Preller. And guess what? He must have been bucking for a promotion because the Padres gave him a multi-year extension today. I think it's probably more of the trades he's made and the way he's been able to acquire talent like Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado and others. But AJ Preller isn't going anywhere. He was in the last year of his contract. So the former Rangers assistant GM will continue running the Padres. Mike Trout met with the media today over in Tempe, and he told Angels reporters that he will be moving back to center field, which is a great news on many fronts because it tells you A, his knee is healthy enough for him to get around. Um, and the game is better when Mike Trout is healthy and hitting and doing all those things. I hope that he's not done. I hope that he rebounds and that he has a good season, that he gets back into the MVP conversation, things like that. He was so fun to watch for so many years. It stinks to see the injuries that he's had. Yes, he's in the Rangers division, so I know he can hurt them pretty badly. But I'm all for baseball superstars being super and playing like they're supposed to. I think you guys might have seen this, and I'm sure you did. Um, Adolis Garcia has arrived to Phillies camp, and they had their first workout. And man, people are just blown away by how strong he is and how big his arms are. I don't know, hey, I think this is a case of what I experienced covering an American League team. You don't ignore the National League, but you don't know as much about it. That arm right there looks like standard adults. I don't think he's put on any muscle. Um, but these National League guys who probably weren't familiar with the American League, they're just shocked by how big his arms are. Well, he is strong. He's a good guy. I heard he's in good spirits. And hopefully, when he's not playing the Rangers there to open the season, he has a nice season for him. We like Adolis a lot. Hope for the best for him. What else do we have to clean up on? Roman Anthony. I saw this earlier in the chat. He is the Red Sox guy, hot commodity as a prospect. He's going to be an everyday out player for them this year. He is joining Team USA, replacing Corbin Carroll. There had been some talk about Wyatt Langford. I don't know how much of it was just throwing names on the wall and seeing what would stick. But I think that that's basically what it was. Chris Young pretty quickly said that nobody from Team USA had contacted the Rangers about Langford, and the Rangers have a special assistant to the GM, Michael Young, on the Team USA coaching staff. So Roman Anthony is going to be with Team USA. I wouldn't expect him to play a lot, but you never know. All right, Hurston Waldrop of the Braves, elbow discomfort. And guess where he was headed? To Arlington to see Keith Meister. Keith, as we know, is one of the leaders in Tommy John and elbows. And Walt Weiss, who's the manager of the Braves, said that there were definitely some loose bodies in there. So maybe there's a cleanup coming. But I don't know necessarily that it's an automatic TJ, though. Anytime you mention elbow soreness, which Pablo Lopez of the Twins experienced today in his bullpen, that'd be a big loss for them. Of course, they're going to stink because they've lost everything else or traded it away. All right, off to St. Petersburg, Florida, where the Rays have been showing off updates to Tropicana Field. And boy, it doesn't look great, does it? The turf looks nice, but that roof, man, it looks like a circus tent. Let's be honest. They still have the rings, which they weren't able to fix. But I wonder what it's going to be like to catch fly balls there. Now, at night, it won't matter. During the day, it matters. We've seen it in the postseason. Um, Day games, it can get a little tricky. I wonder if maybe they just haven't dyed, you know, or bleached or whatever it is they do, those ones that are brown. Um, but it looks like it could be a problem. But they still have a few weeks to get ready for the season. Whew, snuck up on them. Holy cow. All right. And then this is kind of a heartwarming story from Ozzy Albies, who seems to be like a really super guy and always happy and all this stuff. Well, I guess that he has a big fish collection. And somewhere in Atlanta, a school found out about that. And so they sent him letters asking him how to how to care for fish. Well, guess what? He not only responded, he responded in person. He went to the class. He, you know, if you will, lectured them, gave them pointers on how to do it. And then he surprised the class by donating to them one of the fish that had just been hatched in his aquarium, a goldfish who has been named Sandy. So when you think about baseball players and you're wondering, are there any good guys out there? The question is yes. And this was something that I thought was pretty special. And I know that if a major league player showed up to my son's or daughter's classroom, they would be besides themselves. So good on Ozzy Albies for doing that. All right, let's go look into the chat here to see if we have any questions that I've missed. Do, 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 do. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Mason, I'll be headed to the airport at 3:30 a.m. on March 6th. Good Lord, Mason, to come out here or to go back home? Um, I think the first day of minor league camp is March 2nd or 3rd, for those of you who are thinking about out here. Nigel, I'm driving there myself, almost to El Paso. I got to tell you, I want to drive next year. I think I'm going to drive. I've wanted to do it before. My wife completely against it, but I'm going to have to sweet talk her. Maybe, maybe this year spring break falls on the last week of spring training. Maybe we can talk her into bringing the family out. The kids would love that. We have to take a look at their baseball and softball schedules, though. But anyway, just something to think about. But yeah, I've always wanted to drive. Sean McFarland in the morning news, he drove out this year and he said he liked it. So um, good for him. All right. What else do we got? Videos are great. Thanks, Tio. Janet, I saw you comment on those. I appreciate it. I like doing it. I do. And it's not as awkward as it used to be. We used to feel like a bunch of idiots doing it, but now just kind of, half idiot. I feel like doing it. Um, do I think Seager will remain at the number 2 spot in the lineup? Rarities, you know how I feel about that. I want him to bat second, so I think he will. Um, Nimmo can hit left-handers too. He actually has a better career batting average, albeit marginally better against the left-handers. So I hope they stay like that. I hope they stay 1-2. McJowers is young, locked in. I don't know. He seems to look good. I tell you, who looks locked in is that's Jake Berger. Jake Berger has been wowing people with his power. He's just been not just hitting little home runs. He's been destroying balls. They were talking about it again today during BP. All the club officials over on the side just kind of sitting there looking in awe about these line drives that are not just clearing the wall, but carrying across the street that runs between the complexes and landing in the parking lot beyond there, beyond the left field fence. I'm sorry, the right field fence. We go out to the little dirt area between the half field and the and field 3 on the backfields, which you guys don't have access to, unfortunately. There's been like 10 or 15 baseballs each of the past 2 days, just home runs. Like I said, Nimmo has hit some. Josh Smith hit some yesterday that I saw. So the left-handed bats are feasting. The right-handed bats are feasting. Speaking of feasting, yes, it's now 4 o'clock at home, 3 o'clock here. But all I've had to eat today has been a muffin cup, a power bar, and a Rice Krispie treat. So I think it's time for me to go feast. And I'm going to give you guys a little tease. before we go, it looks like, not, depending on the schedule, but Skip Schumaker may come on Wednesday's show. So be sure to keep following the Twitter accounts, both the DLS Rangers account and my account. Hopefully, we'll have an update on that tomorrow. Things always come up, of course. So um, I'm even hesitant to talk about it here with you guys, but I wanted to give you a little tease that Skip is aware that the masses want to hear from him. And, it'd probably just be one segment. Maybe we could play a little overtime on him. But Skip Schumaker might be dialed up for Wednesday's show. And then Friday's show, may have to move that one to 11 a.m. I'm not, or noon. Gonna have to talk with Kat about that. Just depends on the availability of a booth before the first Cactus League game, which is Friday, which is at 1 Central. I'm sorry, 2 Central, 1 here. Maybe tough to get a booth, but I'm going to make it work. So let's not jinx anything about Wednesday. Let's not jinx anything about Friday. And that's when we'll see you next Wednesday on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.